Welcome back to another edition of Strengthening Oklahoma. And this edition of Strengthening Oklahoma brought to you by Pub W. Whether it's brunch, lunch, happy hour, or dinner, Pub W has it all. Visit pubw.com to find a location near you. Reaching the midway point in the week as we try to put to bed that game in Fort Worth and look ahead to the greatest game in college football, that is OU Texas, coming up this weekend in the Cotton Bowl. We welcome in sophomore defensive end and one of our favorites, Mr. Ethan Downs. How are we doing today, Ethan, man? Great to have you.
Hey, thank you so much. I'm good.
Good, man. Fort Worth, it was one we'd like to forget, but we at least have to go back and talk about it because you don't want to fully forget it. You want to let it fester, let it sit there, and so you can get better from it. So from your vantage point, what went wrong in Fort Worth on Saturday, man?
Man, we didn't execute like we practiced all week. We really practiced well. It was frustrating to practice like we did and to not go out there and be as disciplined as we were all practice, all week long, Monday through Friday. And I felt like our defense especially just wasn't really having that chemistry. A lot of individual positions hustled really, really hard, but were out of line when there was fits or, coverages or when there was a one-on-one pass rush. I had a responsibility. I got a one-on-one pass rush, two-way go. I got to win, and I wound up running down the middle of the tackle. So just not complimenting each other, and it's not like we just lost our minds. We missed by an inch several times, and it cost us a lot of points every drive. So that was the defensive side. I can't really speak to the offensive, but man, they were ready. They were fired up. They're an elder group, experienced. They got a bunch of talented dudes, and don't take anything away from them. They're a great team. They earned it. They came out there. They dominated. They played harder, played a little meaner, and it's just another wake-up call. Testing your manhood is what Coach Venables said when we were in the locker room. He said a game like that, after already losing the previous week, will test your manhood because everybody that said they once loved you is now going to say you're trash and you're terrible, right? And it's all about seeing what you're made of. So a lot of guys on the team are dealing with it in different ways. There's a trying to overcome doubt or fear or that insidious behavior that just spreads like a cancer, still sticking to belief and having faith in who we are as a team and what we're capable of. But me personally, like, I enjoy that adversity. I grew up in high school hardly ever winning a game, and every game that we lost showed us how much more capable we were, and it showed us what we were made of, who was tough, who wasn't, who we could rely on, who we couldn't. And it almost feels like high school ball again, where we got a talented team. We got to execute on our high level because the standard is so high that if you slip up once, everybody's on their A game. They're going to score. So we really got to be our best all the time.
So looking at some of, the errors in the TCU game, right, busted coverage, and that's really not, you're not part of that. You're not playing in the back end of the defense. But the success, one of the things that surprised me was the amount of success they had in the running game, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at it, 360-something yards rushing, 8.8 yards per carry. Like, how disappointing was that for you and the rest of the D-line?
It's extremely disappointing. It's not our standard. We showed in the first three games like what we're capable of and what we were shooting for. And, it's really not a fluke like what happened the past two games. It's just not being disciplined, not focusing on your key, not coming out, firing off the ball, getting knocked back, right? Because everything starts with the D-line. And I don't want to speak for linebackers or safeties or corners or anybody else, not even interior D-line, but like the DN position, we got, Coach Davis was talking with us. Everything starts with us and getting knocked back and getting vertical and using our feet and our hands and being violent and executing our call and knowing our keys and having correct eyes. Like, it's simple, but to execute it requires you to like let everything up here go and just ball out, right? And when we got on that field, it looked like we were thinking too much and being hesitant. And when we had to knock back the tackle, we're thinking about the guard coming to chip us and double team us. We're kind of bracing ourselves for that, and it looked soft. And all of the D ends are accountable for that. So we got to be more physical, more knockback. And again, winning wouldn't show us this. Winning, we would have the stats, and we would say, okay, this was great. Now we got to do this and a little more for next week. But now that we've lost, it makes us completely vulnerable, and it's showing all our soft spots. And it hurts because everybody on the outside is trying to poke at those right now, trying to say, oh, that team's terrible. Oh, they ain't it. Or, oh, it was fake. Ranked number 6 before the season, and look at them now. Like, we're getting told all the time. I say all the time. We're getting told these past 2 weeks, it's not the millions of gallons of water outside the ship that sinks it. It's the little bit of water that gets inside that sinks the ship. It's what you listen to and what you allow that comes in, that spreads, right? And we got to stay together as a team. We got to focus. And I know there's a lot of good support out there from fans and from previous players, from coaches. But it feels like a lot of people are trying to pity us right now and say, man, it's okay, and sugarcoat it. But no, we really got to get better. We got to get better. And that's exciting news. That means we're only going to grind harder, and the results are going to shine brighter when we do.
I like that mindset. I really do. I like a lot of what you're saying, especially about that's a great message, by the way. It's not would you say it's not the millions of gallons outside of the ship that sinks it? It's the little bit inside. Let's go a little deeper right there. What has the team been like? Is everybody staying together? Has there been finger pointing? As you guys have, and not just Saturday, but now you've gotten back and you've had some meetings, you've been around each other, you've had some practices, and you're getting back after it. What's the overall feel and vibe of this team?
So I'd say, to be transparent, the coaches are very mature. They know what to expect. They've been in positions where they've been a part of undefeated teams, and they've been in positions where they've been 3-3, at Clemson and other schools. And they're like, man, losers are going to point fingers and play the blame game and say, it's your fault and it's your fault, and I'm doing just fine. That's what losers do, because that draws the accountability off you. And as a team, everybody's accountable because the best is the standard from everybody. So everybody's dealing with it in their own way. Families are trying to communicate and comfort, trying to stay off social media because it's toxic. It always is, whether it's on us or another team. Like, it doesn't hurt until it's on us. And that's media is going to talk because that's what they're there for. And that adversity is good. Like, we listen to Jocko, I believe he's a Navy SEAL military, right? Motivational speaker. And he says, whenever you got adversity, whenever something is challenging, tearing you down, and it hurts, good. Because that's an opportunity to face it, to get better, to grow stronger, right? And that's where we're at right now. It's kind of testing that manhood of, are you going to cower down? Are you going to roll over? Are you going to let someone else be responsible for your job? Or are you going to grow more accountable and say good and own it and get better? It's like, this is way bigger than just football, and coaches are connecting that to us. When we get into life, right, we become a father or a husband, and it gets challenging, right? You don't break up your commitment just because it gets hard. You say, man, when you marry a woman and you're going to be in that relationship with them, and that is your wife, your loved one for life, man, when you go through struggles, you don't run away because it's hard, because it's difficult. You say, man, I've committed to that, and I've put my standard on that, and I'm going to be accountable, and I'm going to own all of it. I'm going to own all of my losses and where I've fallen short and where I looked worse than I really am. And I'm going to prove to you now that I can be better than I was. And that's where we're at right now.
You mentioned that each guy is handling it differently, right? Everyone's handling it their own individual way. These last 2 weeks, they have not gone well, especially defensively. So how have you handled it? Right? What have you kind of done to deal with this adversity and kind of push through it?
I got to control what I can control. And all these words that I'm sharing with you, I can't claim as my own. This is Coach Chavis's wisdom, Coach Venables' wisdom. This is wisdom from teammates, and it's just that common morale right now. Is yeah, it stings, but we got to overcome this. We got to get better from it. And when I mentioned everybody's dealing with it in their own way, a lot of the older guys have expectations, and of course, they want to have a phenomenal season. And a lot of the younger guys are trying to play for the older guys and trying to earn spots on the team and trying to start a legacy. And there's lots of different perceptions of what's going on, but overall, it doesn't put a good taste in the mouth. And everybody's dealing with that, and everybody's saying we can control what we can control. So if you got your position, or if you got your job, do it as best you can. And this guy's gonna do his best, and we're gonna complement each other as a team. And coaches said they're gonna coach harder, players said they're gonna play harder, and yeah, as much as it hurts, it's really healthy right now. And of course, that doesn't look good on paper to have all those yards, rushed against us when we've proved that we can um, play better than what we did. It doesn't look good, and it doesn't look good on the stats and all the rankings and all the social medias, and it doesn't look good on TV. But who cares? Like, this is our team. This is our opportunity now. All right, we can't control the past. That's gone. But we got 7 more opportunities to write the script and to change the narrative. That's all that we can control.
Man, I appreciate and enjoy your outlook. I really do. And you're spitting wisdom, and it's good. And my hope is that is the feeling and that is the thought of your other teammates, because a lot of what you're saying is exactly the way you should approach it. And I'll just say this, man, to heck with what everybody else has got to say. And you know it, you're saying it, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's noise. It's all just noise. And as long as you guys are solid and strong inside that locker room, at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. Coach V is a phenomenal leader. He's a leader of men, and he's somebody that so many guys have followed, and they've made him better players and better people. But he hasn't been in this spot as a head coach. Just for him in particular, how's he handling this? How's he dealing with this? Let's just call it what it is, this real adversity that's staring him and his football team in the face just 5 games in to his tenure as a head football coach.
Yeah, you can see it all over the media saying, "Oh, Coach Venables, he was a great assistant coach, or defensive coordinator, or this and that, but he's not a good head coach," and yada yada yada. 2 weeks ago,
He
they
was
were
the
calling,
greatest head coach of all time.
"Man, this team's gonna win the Natty. This is amazing." And now this is the worst team ever. Venables is a failure, and he's in the leadership position of the whole business right now. And he comes to us every meeting, and he brings the same message of belief, and it hasn't changed. His mood hasn't changed. His emotions haven't changed. He is a very wise man, and he's experienced a lot of a lot of adversity, and he's grown in that wisdom. Since he was a child, having to overcome the basic. I say basic, just the complications of life, right? Um, who Coach Venables is a man that's gonna take advantage of every moment, and if that means that he claims the accountability for everybody, he's gonna do it. And what he told us after the game, literally after the loss, he said, "Man, I can't believe how the game's gone." He said to be beat by TCU, but to be beat like that, he said, it tests your manhood. He said, but I'm still in the A gap with you. I'm still right there. I'm not flinching. Haven't moved. I'm going to come back the same. I'm going to come back harder. and he said we're going to do everything that we can do to win, as any coach should. And he's completely honest. I trust him. Like, it's the best coach I've ever had my entire life. He's challenged me harder than any coach has ever challenged me, and it's made me a better person and a better player. And nothing that the media is saying, I'm gonna believe, because they're not with the man every single day, and they don't know his wisdom and his brilliance and his football knowledge. Because we're talking about a very winning coach, been to several national championships, knows how to deal with adversity, has taken teams that have lost early on in the season, flipped the script, and won natties and won championships. And that's the guy we're still talking about. So for him to be as a head coach now, to lead the position, to lead the road, to drive the bus, means that we're in good hands. Whether we win another game or not, we are in great hands, and we're becoming better players, and we're becoming better men. And you can't ask for a better coach. I can't ask for a better coach. I haven't found one. And it's a miracle when things got crazy last year and coaches were leaving and players were leaving, transferring, figuring out what we're going to do. And Coach Venables came here. He said, I've got a role, and I feel like I need to be here. He said, I feel destined to be here. And Coach Venables is still going to shock the world. And he has shocked the world. The world lost a little hope, and he's going to shock him again. Because he's still the same dude. He's not flinching. And I believe that. And I'm going to back him up. I'm going to be in that A-gap with him. And I'm not going to lose belief or faith. I'm gonna stay right there. This is my home, and I'm all the way for Coach Venables.
I love it. I love it. Well, that the whole not flinching thing that starts this week, man. Right, with the big one, and you're an Oklahoma guy, the pride of Weatherford. What does this game mean to you? OU Texas, man. As you know, I'm an Oklahoma guy. Dusty's a Dallas guy that played at OU. Well, what's this game mean to you?
I love this game. It's really awesome. You never know what's going to happen. Majority of the time, OU kicks that butt, but it's just like you never know how the game's going to go, where the momentum's going to be. You're coming down the tunnel and you're face to face with the other team. It's just awesome. Like my family's pumped, calling me like every other day, being like, "Man, are you ready to like mess them up? You got it." It's just the whole rivalry is really, really fun. I don't know what to say because I don't like to cuss. I don't like to be over emotional. But when I talk about this game, yeah, I do. I just want to get fired up. Want to cuss.
It gets the juices flowing, man. It does. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's still. Oh, there. See, this is what happens. You lose a couple games. They shut the lights on you, Ethan.
Wow, that's crazy.
No, but I agree, man. It does. There's just something about it. I mean, there's something. It's still not even obviously well past my playing days, but like even doing the radio call, man, I get fired up. There's just something about it.
Especially when you open that locker room and you look across, and that burnt orange is about to walk down that same ramp. There's nothing like it in all of sports. It's the best sporting event that you could possibly ask for. The split in that stadium. And I got to tell you, man, I think I saw somewhere it's an unranked OU and unranked Texas for the first time. I think since like 98 or something. It's been a while.
Yeah.
And so like I played in this game, and it was typically the winner was probably going to win the Big 12 and play for a national championship. But I don't remember a Cotton Bowl that's as important for an Oklahoma team in a long time.
Yeah.
This game this week, it could change everything like that.
Okay.
You guys recognize that? You guys feel that? Like that's the opportunity you have in front of you right now, staring you in the face with Texas?
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about that as just a players meeting without the coaches in the room. Our leaders made that very clear. Like, hey, this is it. Like, not the end all be all, but this is the game that's going to bring the momentum that we need. to make our dreams come true. So you better believe we're going to come out swinging. And when we get punched back, we're going to swing harder.
I like it, man. Now, and I know that you still have a little more throughout the week to finish your preparation, your film study, all that stuff. But with what you've been able to see so far of Texas's offense, I mean, what do you think? It's a talented group, man.
Yeah, they're extremely talented. QB's got an arm. They got powerful running backs. They got great receivers. They're extremely talented. They got great facilities, great resources. Like, there's no excuse for them not to be a good team, and they are a great team. They've got all the utilities, and we're gonna get their best, like every rival game is. We're gonna get their best. So, yeah, we're not taking anything away from Texas. We know what it's about. We're coming after it, and it's a redemption time for them and us. So we're gonna see what we're made of, and that's so. It's
Right.
like time for war.
From your standpoint, and they got a true freshman tackle on one side and a veteran and Christian Jones on the other. As you watch them, what do you feel is most important that you do individually and that you guys do collectively? Is it tackling? Is it, being assignment sound? Like, if you had to narrow it down, you want to do every little thing right. But what's most important that you guys do as a defense, and then for you individually, for you to have success in this game and leave an impact there in the Cotton Bowl?
I would say mentality is a big deal. Never getting comfortable, realizing we're there for something much bigger than us. And when I've got the role to put on a pass rush, get that quarterback to put moves on moves and be relentless and to dominate, because the rival game is always about who wants it more. You can scheme up, you can get an early touchdown, you can be up by 30 at halftime. It's always about who wants it more in the end. So, yeah, it's all about that mentality and getting after it.
I've got one more OU Texas question for you. Have you experienced the fair? Have you wandered around, smelled the smells, seen the sights, gotten something randomly that is fried and eaten it, or are you saving that for after you get a win in this one? Like, what's the fair plan for the Downs crew?
All right, I've never been to the fair. That'll have to be after a few years, come back for a game. But man, I bet they enjoy it. I bet my family loves it, and it's like a dream come true for my family. And I'm living the dream, and they're getting to experience it with me. Like, they grow up OU fans. My grandparents are huge OU fans, and my mom and dad, my little brother, yeah, they love going to the fair, seeing the atmosphere. My mom almost fights someone every game for trash talk. Great. Um, my family's got my back. They're my biggest supporters. Win or lose, they talk me down, keep me humble, and keep me focused. I really appreciate that. I'm very blessed to have parents and a family like I do. And my fiance too, she's always there to support me and experience that with my family and me, and to get all perspectives of it, good, bad, ugly, great, win, loss. It's so cool that this is so much bigger than just statistics and analytics and rankings, right? This is like life and experiences, emotions, relationships. It's huge. Like, 20 years later, all I can think about is, we may talk about this season, we may talk about the games that we lost and the games we won. We may look at TCU and be like, we lost our minds that game. But to look back on this season, I'm gonna remember like the relationships I've got. I'm gonna remember the coaches that came and the relationships I built with them and how much better I got, and things to cherish with my family. Like, this is way bigger than football, and it's a blessing.
The philosopher never lets us down. I'll just say this, though. That's all beautiful, and you're right on every account. But do yourself a favor. Get you a Fletcher's Corny Dog with some mustard and get yourself a funnel cake. Okay.
And-
All that other stuff's good.
And
You're gonna-
also,
You're going
and
to
also
remember that
win the
corny
game.
dog for 20 years as well, I promise.
yeah. Also win the game. It
Yeah,
makes it way
yeah.
better when you're looking back on it.
1,000,000%.
Makes it taste a lot better. Yeah.
And to your point, I'll be in a booth in Miami, Florida, getting ready for North Carolina, Miami. Very attentive to that ball game. But my sons will be there supporting you, your
Awesome.
football team, and they'll be taking in their first OU Texas game with my beautiful wife. So you still got a lot of fans outside of your family. You still got people that care about you, care about that team, care about that program, and are going to be there fighting, scratching, clawing to the bitter end with you guys. So can't wait to see what it looks like and how you guys respond in Texas coming up this weekend. Let's sneak in a couple of fan questions before we get you out of here. Fan questions, as always, brought to you by Love's Travel Stops. Visit loves.com for more information on the nation's leading travel stop network that's headquartered right here in the great state of Oklahoma. Sean H., what has been your favorite moment of the season so far, and what has been your least favorite moment so far?
I might be a little crazy. I might be wired a little different, but when we were losing to K-State here, the whole stadium got quiet. Whole stadium's frustrated. People started leaving, right? K-State's upsetting us and exploiting us, and it's frustrating. But, man, I don't know what it was, but when we were down in the fourth quarter trying to come back, I got this huge – I just got filled up with energy and excitement, and I was like, man, win or lose this game, I still believe. I just believe that we're gonna win somehow. Scoreboard or not, we're gonna win somehow, and we're gonna be victorious somehow. And I don't know if that was winning down the road, if that was prophecy for the future. I don't know, but I had this huge exhilaration of just pure joy when we were down, when it was hard, when we were losing. I was joyful, and I was like, man, I love this. I love the struggle. I love the battle. I love how difficult this is. I enjoy it. And it's so strange. I've never been like that my whole life. But oddly, that was one of my favorite moments so
What
far.
was your least? Don't tell me your least favorite moment was when you were dominating Nebraska and Lincoln, because if
It's a
if you
psycho.
I will say that there's something wrong. I love you, but I'm going to say there's definitely something wrong with you. So please don't tell me your least favorite moment was that win in Lincoln, please.
No, my least favorite moment was to see the teammates get hurt in the TCU game, right? To see them get knocked in the head, and then to see Measy, get hit, huge stinger. It's scary. All the teammates are crying, emotional. It showed how close we are, but it isn't fun to see your brothers get hurt. And to see them after the game and just to, love up on them and be like, man, we're here for you, family. It's nice to be there for one another, but to be there for, an injury or pain, it's always difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the worst part about football. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Those moments, they never get less scary, man. Okay. One more. We'll let you get out of here. This one comes from Scott W. I like this question. Are you excited for the weather to start to cool down? Do you like to play in cold weather more?
Oh, no. No, I don't know.
Listen, as I've aged, I have come to appreciate the heat a lot more. Now, back when I was a more robust individual, cool it down for me. Cool it good. That like October to November stretch in Oklahoma, the weather can get pretty premium, man.
Yeah, it is. Right now it's really nice. During the summer you're wishing for a snow day or something. But yeah, fall camp, you're like, can we get it back down to just 90? Man, a little breeze, that's saying a lot. But no, when it gets cold, I grew up in Oklahoma, cold never bothered me a whole lot. I always wore shorts in high school, wherever I went, shorts and regular old t-shirt, walking around in the snow. Figured I'd get to I'll get to some heater soon enough, or be in a car soon enough, so I don't care too much about it. But man, it takes some grit to be able to go out when it's snowing, when it's cold, when your fingers burn, when your sweat freezes. It takes a lot of grit to fight through that, to love that, right? To go out there and anticipate that when coaches say, "Hey, man, it's freezing cold. We're gonna go to the indoor," and to be like, "Nah, this is our process. We're gonna stay right here outside and cold. It's gonna make us better. It's gonna make us tougher." I'm excited for that, but man, there's nothing like a brisk shiver and it doesn't stop. Whew, man, the nipples can cut diamonds.
Hey, man, listen, I tell you what, this is the sweet spot, okay? Because when it's too hot, it sucks. When it's super cold, it really sucks. But
yes.
man, whenever it's like this October to early November, it's just right, man. It's that sweet spot. Give me some 70s, 60s, heck, give me 50s. Once you start getting down to them 30s with some wind, that's for the birds. So enjoy this while you have it. And I can tell you this, I think Gabe kind of touched on it. Enjoy being young, because us old folks, the cold, it hits me different than it ever used to. I used to walk around Chicago in sandals year round. Now, if it's like 60 degrees, I'm like looking for a hoodie and a jacket and putting on snow socks. So like, enjoy your youth, because you don't understand that cold changes as you get older. Am I wrong, Gabe?
Listen, back in the day when I was tipping the scales at 305, like the thermostat was like 66.
Yeah.
Now that thing's set to like 73.
Yeah.
I don't, you just want to stay warmer as you get older, Ethan. You're a long way from that, man. Don't worry about it.
Y'all both had an extra 50 pounds of cushion to keep you warm.
Correct. That's a good point. You make a good point.
We did, man. But I used to embrace that cold weather. Now I'm like, man, I don't know. If I'm not on the slopes, I don't need to see snow. I can tell you that, man. It's always a pleasure. We get a chance to talk with you. Proud of the way you're handling this, man. It's not easy. I think you got the right approach. And I can't wait to see exactly how you guys respond. Stay healthy. Best of luck, and go kick some butt out there on Saturday, man.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate y'all.
As always, thanks to Ethan. And now it's time for me and my man Gabe to break it down. The breakdown brought to you by the Oklahoma Proton Center. It's one of the top cancer centers in the region using state-of-the-art proton therapy. Oklahoma Proton Center, more than a cure, quality of life. The philosopher. For those of you maybe just joining us, we appreciate you finding us on YouTube, potentially on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, the various outlets that you can check out our Strengthening Oklahoma podcast and interviews with the players. Thanks for joining. But from day one, Ethan he's wise beyond his years, very mature, a deep thinker, and we appreciate that. And I do like his outlook. I do like a lot of what he had to say. But here's the reality. They need to go play better. They need to play better football on Saturday, period. Like, I know he knows that. That's why I have no problem saying it. He knows it. His teammates know it. His coaching staff knows it. So I'm with him, though. Dude, block out that noise. There's a lot of noise out there right now. Block it out. Don't let it in. Don't let it infiltrate that locker room, that football team. They've got enough to deal with. They don't need any of that. But at the same time, like, it needs to get better. Like, they need to play better. They're capable of playing better. And, we talked a lot, and we had Billy Bowman on about the back end, about other things. Let's start the defensive line, man. Playing the other side of the football, playing physical, attacking, being violent with your hands, being violent against offensive linemen, getting to the quarterback, making the quarterback uncomfortable. We haven't seen much of that the last couple of games. And we can say, well, it's because of 3-man front, not as much 4-man front. I don't care what you're in. I watch enough tape, see enough defensive lines, regardless of where guys are aligned, you can still be physical. You can still strike offensive linemen. You can still shed blocks. You can still be a factor. And to me, that group was outstanding through 3 weeks. And they've been very average to below average the last couple of weeks. And so they got players. They are capable of being better. And I think they know that. And they need to step up this week against an offensive line that I think is improved from where they were. It's not a great offensive line. It's not the strength of Texas team. And they need to take the fight to Texas. I'm all about mentality. But here's the one thing I'll say that I slightly disagree with Ethan. You got to have the right mentality. Everybody wants to win this game. Everybody on that field wants to win the game. Who's going to go out there? To me, it's not who's got the better mentality. Who's the more physical football team? Who's going to go put hands on the other team and make them feel them? Who's going to go make plays? Who's going to execute the calls and get done what needs to get done? That's going to be the difference in the game. And you can quantify that in a lot of ways. And I know the way Ethan did was you got to want it more. Everybody who steps in that arena wants it. But who's willing to do the things that it takes to go get it? That's who's going to win the football game. That's who wins OU Texas.
And a lot of that is how you prepare for it during the week,
Yes.
not just Saturday.
Yes.
Right. And
Yes.
that's the
key.
mistakes, the busts. Those got to go. No more. No more. They have to do whatever it takes, right? You only get 4 hours a day with the coaches. Those are the rules. And that includes your lifts. That includes some of the meeting stuff and practice. You got to do more because, and I'm not questioning the effort or the preparation, but something's got to change. You got to do more, especially in this game. It's always like, I don't know about you, Dusty. I know players are supposed to treat every game the same. That's not how it works. That's not real life. This game means more. It always has meant more. It always will mean more. And I always put more time in when we were playing Texas.
We all did on our teams.
Everyone does.
Everybody.
So what do they get out of the extra time they're going to put out this week? Do they get all those issues ironed out? Because I'm telling you right now, if they don't, this offense will score a ton of points because it's the best offense that they've played. They have talent all over the field. And if Ewers is back, the guy can rip it, man. He can. Now, they won't have the QB run element that TCU had, right? So that takes that off the plate a little bit. But Steve Sarkisian, think what you want about the man as a head coach, but when it comes to dialing up offensive plays, the guy is good. He schemes people open. He's very good. This defense, they've got to want it. That's important. Yes, they got to bring the attitude, the effort, all of that. But most importantly, they got to play assignment sound football, man.
They do.
And play it with physicality.
Yes, because you heard what Ethan said. We were hesitant, right? We were hesitant. And what happens when you're hesitant, Gabe? You're not as physical. You're not playing as fast. And like that, it all works together, right? When you're confident and what the call is, and you can play fast, you can play physical, and you can play violent. And I know this much. I'm sure you felt this way. I know I felt this way. And I play with some great players behind me. I play with 2 Butkus Award winners. I play with multiple Jim Thorpe Award winners. But I always felt like it was on us up front to make a play, to go create something, to go make something happen. Like we put that on ourselves. Like we wanted to have the impact. We wanted to go out there. We didn't just want it. We would try to do something about it. I can't say that every single game we took the field that was the case, but more times than not, it was. To me, this defensive line, man, the whole group across the front, they need to take that. They need to wear that, and they need to put the onus on themselves. Like they need to really take this as a challenge and step up, help that back end, help those run fits, create some havoc, get some penetration, get off blocks. Like when you get a call and you've got the ability to change gaps whenever they do, they do a post-snap stunt. make it count. So I really hope we see a better overall effort and productivity out of the defensive line, because it's so cliche, but damn it, it's the truth. It starts up front. And when you look at the history of Brent Venables' defenses, when you look at the history of just about any defense, it typically starts up front. Championship teams, elite level defenses typically have productive and disruptive defensive lines. They help everybody behind them play better. You want to know the best way to help out your back seven? Have your front four, front three be absolute game wreckers. That's how you do it. That's how you alleviate some pressure and make their life a little bit less difficult. I'm asking for a lot, I know. But man, if there was ever a time that this defensive line could step up and leave an impact on a game, they need it right now. The back end of this defense needs it from this defensive line right now.
Yeah. And you got some veteran guys across that front. Now you've got some youth, right? Ethan, that's the thing about Ethan. While he's wise beyond his years,
Yeah.
the guy's a true sophomore, right? Reggie Grimes, he's getting up there, but guy hasn't played a ton, right? So you're looking for, Jordan Kelly, Jalen Redmond, those guys, even Jeffrey
Isaiah
Johnson,
Coe.
like Isaiah Coe, the guys that have been around, right? Older guys that have played a lot of ball, like they got to make an impact. And that's the thing. That's the thing that has stood out to me. Other than the real just huge busts,
Sure.
Breakdowns in these last two games, the defensive line has not had a big impact on the football game. They've been getting blocked. And they got to figure out whatever they got to do to prepare for this game to make sure it doesn't happen again, because it's happened 2 weeks in a row. And look at how those games have gone. You're right. Great defense. I don't know. You talk about the great defenses we've seen at OU, the great defenses we've seen here recently in college football. All of them start with great defensive line play. They have to impact the game. That's the key to the game. They have to impact the game. So they're hearing all this stuff. I know they're trying to block it out, right? But with all the stuff you're exposed to as a college kid now, like, it's impossible not to hear it. They need to take that stuff personally.
Yes.
And
It's
use
a
it.
challenge. It's a challenge.
Don't ignore the people. Hear them. You don't have to listen to it, right? But hear it and use it to fuel you to play better. And that's where I'm very interested to see how they respond, because they did not respond the way that I thought they were going to off the Kansas State loss. But they got another chance, right? They got another chance to prove who they are as a football team. Let's see.
There's no better arena to change the mojo of this season, the juju that's going on inside that locker room than on Saturday against Texas. And here's the deal. They're going to get a heavy dose, as you know, of your favorite play in football, that wide zone. They love to run the stretch. They love to run the zone. They want to be able to create creases. They want to get linemen turning sideways, right? They want to create running lanes, and they want to give that ball to 5, one of the most elite running backs in the country. And with his vision and his burst and his ability to break tackles, get him in space. Okay. The best way I know how to slow that down is to play knockback football. You heard Ethan say it. Instead of going sideways and getting pushed and washed, and all of a sudden those gaps start widening, and all of a sudden creases and running lanes open up. When you start knocking offensive linemen back, you change the line of scrimmage. That's how you can slow down that outside zone. And it's, again, you don't have to be making a ton of, you can impact the game as a defensive lineman without having sacks, without having TFLs. You can still leave your mark, leave your imprint, and affect the football game. And that's what it's going to have to be, man. That's what it's going to have to be to slow down Bijan Robinson, to slow down this rushing attack. And if they don't do that, it's going to be a long day. It's just what it is, because that's where it's going to start. And then it's going to be play action, and it's going to be shots. And if they're able to run the football, it's going to be problematic for Oklahoma. So to me, that's where this thing has to start up front with that defensive line, playing knockback and slowing down Bijan, that outside zone concept that has become so effective at times for this offense. So, I may have to strap up and get out there. I'm getting kind of.
It's that week, man. I mean, the juices get flowing. I only got one last thing about. You're talking about the physicality at the point of attack, right?
Yes.
One thing Steve Sarkisian loves to do, and we saw it on the first play of the game last year when Xavier Worthy took just a quick screen for 75 yards. After what we just saw with TCU,
oh yeah,
they're going to throw, I mean, how many of these quicks? You think where the quarterback
Bunch.
just raises up, throws it to a wide receiver, his
Bunch.
buddies are blocking for him. They're going to throw, 8 of them? Probably, maybe 10.
Get their athletes in space. Show me you can tackle.
It's one of the staples of their offense. And this defense struggled with it last week. So not only do we need to see the physicality from the defensive line at the point of attack, but those corners and safeties,
100%.
better strap it up, man, because it's coming. They're going to test you.
Yes, they are. There's no question about that. Man, we are midweek, and it feels like that game's coming tomorrow. We still have a few more days, and I'm sure by Friday, a couple of stories from you and I about our times there at the Cotton Bowl and the greatest game there is in college football. Big thanks to Muse Growth Strategies for continuing to help us spread the word about strengthening Oklahoma. And a reminder to subscribe to the podcast on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. Thanks to our subscribers who have been here from the very beginning, all the viewers on YouTube, listeners on the various podcast platforms. We thank you. We appreciate you. And we'll see you again next time right here on Strengthening Oklahoma.